You know, sometimes I really wonder some things about Fox Studios. I have this idea, this inkling, this thought that a senile old man might be running things, just going around like, oh, please, can I get another season of The Simpsons? What about Family Guy? Oh, I really like that Patrick Warburton. Patrick, say the line, say the line. Hey, Peter. You know, he just goes around doing that, but once in a blue moon, he awakens from his demented nightmare, stares up at the sky, and just says, we need more sitcoms in a new region, a new location, a new gimmick. We need it so badly. And that's when shows like Crabopolis get created. Have you ever heard of that show? I know I haven't. I haven't seen an episode, I haven't seen a clip, I haven't seen any of the characters, but I have heard that it is a little bit shit, a little bit garbage, but it did go on for 3 seasons, so I'm going to be taking a look at it to see is it actually good or is it bad. And if you like content just like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. I upload every single day. You don't want to miss it. Now let's finally take a look at Crabopolis. Taking a look at the best episode in the series, or at least the highest rated episode in the series, we have the episode Tydra. And I feel like there is a glaring immediate problem with this series. In a world that is so whimsical, where you got giant monsters, gods everywhere, where you could do anything inside of the fantasy idea, inside of the fantasy realm, they choose to be so unimaginative. In a world where you have a giant Hydra being the main focal point of the episode and trying to do something unique with that concept, you decide to tackle basically phone addiction. It's basically the same episode in a normal sitcom, except with a Hydra, and it's just a little bit wonky that this is our decision. Like, I think the beginning of the episode was decent, like it sets it up well, and then they just get very, it's like they don't want to innovate, it's like they don't want to come up with jokes, it's like they don't want to just do anything, they just want to sit there, and it's just a little bit odd. So the episode opens with a character named Stupendous walking up to a cave and being like, hear ye, this cave belongs to the king. So a Hydra comes out, and your initial thoughts when you see a Hydra is probably, ah! You know, you want to panic, you want to scream, you want to freak out a little bit, but the Hydra is actually a very nice person and initially decides to just leave, to just go away, and then all of a sudden you hear some ropes being tied and the Hydra tries to fucking kill itself. That is kind of funny. That's not what you would expect from a Hydra, and Stupendous saves the Hydra. And I love the Hydra's immediate reaction of being like, I'm sorry, you know, I swear I'm not just doing this for a cry for help. It's not a cry for help. I was actually gonna do it.
I promise this wasn't a cry for help. I really thought you left.
And that's just really funny to me. That's a really funny way to start the episode. And then it just gets a little bit sloppy when we actually cut to what's going on with the king. Because I think everything that goes on with Tyrus is really annoying. That's the king's name. He's just not a very entertaining character. He's literally like a prepubescent 13-year-old who's like, I'm gonna lactate. Everybody like me, please. Everybody like me. It's just so odd, except he's a grown, fully grown man, and that just doesn't make his character endearing at all. I don't like any of the aspects of his character. He doesn't do anything funny. His entire character, being one of the main characters, is just, please like me. And so we have this big town hall meeting where, again, they could be saying some interesting stuff, some whimsical stuff, but they all just keep talking about poop in the river. Like, Tyrus is like, okay, I got rid of that Hydra. Do you guys like me yet? And they're all like, no, there's poop in the river. It's a stinky, dinky, dinky, rinky, poopy river. And I feel like one of the writers was sitting there just going, raining? Oh, poop in the river. Because they say it so many times, and sometimes it genuinely feels like a punchline of the scene, and it's just a little bit odd to me. Like, I'm not going to complain about it that much, but they genuinely talk about pooping in the river at least 25 times throughout this entire episode, and at some point you have to wonder if somebody's just sitting there like, poop in the river. It's so funny. It's just a little bit odd to me, personally. So then we get to my next biggest grip with the series, biggest gripe, something that I just am not really a fan of, and that's the voice acting. It feels like sometimes they just don't necessarily care. Like, initially, Tyrus walks in after the horrible town meeting, he's complaining, he's upset, and they're all sitting at the table talking about how they could potentially quit, and then Deliria turns into Omni-Man or something, just getting a little bit too freaky with it, like, Mark, I made you a steak, Mark, we could finally be bees. This is good news, because she just starts staring up at the sky. Just a couple of bees, just a couple of bees, just a couple of bees, trying to summon bees. And that's like the joke. I don't know. It just felt like slop to me. I wasn't really a fan of that. Like, that was the joke for the scene, and they just keep on talking about nonsense. Nothing really has a punchline to it. Nothing is set up. They just keep saying things. And then Tyrus turns around and sees the Hydra, because the Hydra is going to live there now because they want the Hydra to survive. And it's, imagine, okay? This is your first time seeing a Hydra, and to your prior knowledge, this is a beast that has killed many warriors. It's killed a lot of people. It's something you're deeply and passionately afraid of, okay? I turn around. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Not true. Oh my god! What? Hydra!
Whoa.
Kill it! Kill it!
Calm down.
You know? Like, that's your reaction to seeing a prehistoric beast that could literally slay you in 1 second. That's literally what the actor does. And I get it, his voice, like, isn't the best for that. Like, it's like, oh my god, oh my god. Like, it's not the best, but even if I was talking like, oh my god, I could go, oh my god. You know, I could give a little bit more passion to it, a little bit more pizzazz. Like, if I'm the director and I'm telling this guy how to voice act for my show, I'm not going to have him see one of the most terrifying creatures of all time and just going, oh my god. Oh my god, and just hiding. That entire scene, it really bothered me. I don't know why. It spoke volumes to the passion behind the show and their willingness to actually care. It was just a little bit weird. So they now know the Hydra, and they all go down to the basement, and they're all treating the Hydra like it's some kind of scum of the earth. But there's this little fish guy named Hippocampus who doesn't fit into any of these situations, and I'm thinking, well, how does this handicapped fish, he's literally on wheels, how does this handicapped fish, who doesn't look like it should probably exist, like it literally struggles to walk, how does this compare to a giant beast? Like, I don't really get the differential here of what is allowed in this world, like what's okay. It just feels like a lot of racism here. But either way, I can look past it, I suppose. So they start using the Hydra basically like a cell phone, because they learn that, oh, if a Hydra head is up here, another Hydra head can relay information. And how do they express this wondrous joke for the first time? Hydra, remind my son that I didn't give birth to him for the fun of it.
Could you remind him that I didn't give birth to him for the fun of it?
Yes.
How did I live without this?
That's the thrilling and comedic line that Deliria says to Tyrus. That's a quote that's going to be remembered in the ages. Whew, hot dog, am I right? So that happens. And then they start all getting their own Hydra, and I like the build up to everybody getting their own Hydra because we get to meet the town crier who just like screams every time they see it, and then even though he knows the Hydra exists, everybody knows the town exists, he sees the Hydra again and still screams about it. I liked that. So they all start cutting off Hydra heads, and everybody gets their own Hydra, and they all have somebody to talk to, somebody to relay information, somebody to get podcasts from, and this is pretty much where the creativity kind of stops. It just kind of turns into an entire thing where, oh, everybody starts getting depressed because they all have their own Hydra and they can talk to it, and it's just like having a phone and nobody wants to socialize. Just because you have a Hydra head doesn't make it the most creative and innovative thing I've ever watched, because they're not doing anything unique with it. It is just a Hydra talking to it. It's the equivalent of if you watched a show where everybody got their own Siri and the Siri was saying the same stuff. It's the equivalent because they don't do anything unique with the Hydra. It's just the Hydra is a actual character, a actual person, but it still just responds like you're talking to a cell phone, so I don't really know if I like that much. Like, there's this one scene where Tyrus is getting talked to by the Hydra, and he's just like, oh, tell me how many people have liked me. Oh, tell me. And the Hydra's like, oh, 42. And he's like, oh, what it feels like to be liked. This is exactly what I needed, yes.
331 likes.
Oh, my appreciation. So foreign.
And I'm just watching a man orgasm to the thought of being liked, and I'm just not really about that. I just don't really find that to be that entertaining. So we then have this character named Shloob. I think that's his name, Shloob, and he's married to Delaria, so he's Tyrus's father, and he wants to interface penises, get off them Hydras and just, pound that tuna, pound that fish, get down and dirty to some real business. And she doesn't want to do that because she's too busy with the Hydra. So this leads him to form his own basically podcast for, I don't know, Discord moderators, Redditors, whatever you want. Basically, he doesn't really talk like this, but it's basically just the equivalent of, princess, you don't need a pussy in your life, oh princess. You could just do whatever you want. We can all be virgins together. You know, that's basically the equivalent of what he's talking about, what he's doing, what he's getting up to. And it forms like this little cult of a bunch of like, Discord mods, to say the least, Redditors, just type of guys who are like, I don't think any woman would come to me, not because they don't want to, but because, I'm just a little bit too masculine. I'm a little bit too wonderful. Like, that's just a little bit odd. So then the fish, Hippocampus, he's using the Hydra to try to find a little bit of romance, some anonymous dating, to say the least. And he has this entire, speech and conversation with the Hydra where he's basically like, oh, what? Is she okay with looks? Is she okay with looks? I don't know if she's okay with looks. She's clearly not okay with looks. I don't even want to meet her anymore. I don't want to meet her. And bro lost out. Look at this character, and if you played Terraria, tell me that is not the Dryad right there.
It's gonna be awful, and I can't do it. Tell her forget it.
He says, forget it. What? What happened there?
Bro is missing out on some certified Dryad. I just can't believe this. The Hippocampus, he's missing out. What a stupid fish. So, yeah, there's stuff like that. But again, I don't know. The Hydra should be the whimsical part of the episode, but it doesn't do anything to make it that special. It's just a Hydra head. Again, if this was all happening on their phones, it would feel like the same kind of jokes because nothing is really whimsical about it. And I feel like that's really what's missing from the show. So, there's more talk about cleaning the stinky river. We get more stink poop river nonsense. And eventually everybody starts taking advantage of the Hydra, and the Hydra just starts telling them super nice things about themselves. And there's a big town fire. Oh no, big fire. What are we gonna do, everybody? I don't know what to do. And so I was thinking, okay, this is where the episode is finally going to turn up a little bit. They're going to have to convince the Hydra to put out the fire, by flapping its big old neck fat on it or something. We're going to get a little bit whimsical here. No, they don't even animate the resolution. It's just so boring. Everybody gets told by the Hydra that they all hate King Tyrus, and King Tyrus is the reason for the fire. So they all go to the river, they get stinky poop water, and we don't even get to see them putting out the fire. That's it. That's the conflict resolution. That's what the entire episode has been building up to. The fall and the collapse of using the Hydras, and there's a fire, and then the Hydra just tells them exactly what to do, and they do it. No jokes, no nothing. That's the conflict resolution, and it just feels so lazy to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm focusing too much on the fact that it is a whimsical world with monsters, with gods, with all this crazy stuff that you could do when you're just doing nothing. It's just odd. I don't like it very much. So, that happens. And then the Hydra has this big speech about how humans are actually really messed up after she was listening to them for so long. So she's going to go and do her own thing. No, I'm going to do my own thing. So she's going to leave, go and find something else to do. And then they did this weird thing at the end of the episode about constellations and stars where because they burned all the Hydra heads, it went up to the sky and created a constellation, and they keep on rambling on and on about constellations and how they had an argument with the gods about constellations and about how constellations don't even matter in the grand scheme of things because they're actually just suns in the sky and nothing is really weird about that. They're just stars, big stars, really millions of miles away, and constellations don't really matter. And then humans invented smartphones, and then Carrie Fisher died, and the narrator starts talking about how they're crying.
But then they invented smartphones, and the phones were so smart the people got stupid, and then Carrie Fisher died, and at that point it all just sort of... I'm sorry, I need a moment.
Yeah, I described that to you really fast with no, really ambition there because that's exactly what they were doing, and they probably, got a really big chuckle out of that, but I didn't really understand the point of it. I mean, I thought when they started talking about Carrie Fisher, it was a little bit funny, but I don't know. It just felt like a last-ditch effort to get a laugh out of you at the end of the episode, and that was about it. So ultimately, I don't really give a shit. I don't care. Not really a big fan. Yeah, this wasn't very good. It's definitely not the worst thing. It just commits the cardinal sin of the majority of animation or just media and entertainment in general being boring. You can be bad but still be entertaining, but if you're boring, it is the worst thing you could possibly be. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would probably give it a solid 4 out of 10. Definitely not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's definitely not good. Now taking a look at the worst episode in the series, or at least the worst rated episode in the series, we have the episode Krapopolis now. And honestly, this show fucking sucks. It could honestly go in the top 10 of my worst shows of all time because it's just flat out boring in every single way. I can't imagine, being the creator of the show, having so many people come in to sit there and animate for hours, just to have the characters sit there and talking in a whimsical world that takes place inside of a fairy tale with monsters. Literally, one of the characters is like a fucking centaur with a scorpion ass just sticking on out. He's like a griffin. Like, you have this crazy world full of gods and all this whatnot, and you'd rather just have the characters talk. And when the characters do show up on screen, like a god, for example, it's just, oh, well, you weren't invited to my godly party. You're so lame. Like, we're gonna have this whimsical world, and the best jokes we could come up with is Athena being petty. I don't see the vision. I don't get it. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. It's just a little bit odd to me. The episode opens with Tyrus at this big king convention, and there's 5 kings there, and I actually do like one joke that they lean into, which is about Repetsusis, or however you say his name. He's this guy who was all like, I really need to be king, so I'm gonna stab my father, give him a good old knife to the stomach, and then might as well bring out my Sigmund Freud because my mom is looking absolutely fine. Yeah, he did the nasty with his mother, and that's how he became king, and he actually feels very bad about it. He's just, repenting so much for the horrible mistake that he's made, and the joke that they decide to do with it is Tyrus. He's all like, oh, well, I made my own kingdom to get elected as king. Oh, yes. And nobody likes that. And Tyrus is all like, oh, well, but you like this guy who slept with his own mom? And they were all like, bravely did that. You can't forget how brave that was.
Is that even legal?
That guy slept with his mum.
Bravely? I think it was brave.
I liked that joke. I thought that was good. And then everything else in the episode is just complete and utter garbage. A complete and utter waste of my time. Waste of my existence. I can't imagine a single person watching this and liking this. This has a 5.9 rating on IMDb, or at least around there. I can't imagine anybody going online and being like, I had such a great time watching this episode, where the characters just sat there having arguments with each other and being petty and not telling remotely good jokes. So we cut to Tyrus, and he gets the bright idea to hold an election so that he could, have the people choose him, and that's how he'll be mandated king. Brilliant, awesome. And the thrilling jokes that he decides to do is, we'll call it a selection. No, a tie-lection. Because he combines the names. Pure comedy gold right there. So then we cut to the night, and it's Deliria and Shloob, and they're about to go to bed to do dirty, nasty things to each other, to have dirty, animalistic bestiality sex, because Deliria has sex with this grotesque monster with a scorpion gaping booty hole. So that's an interesting concept. But Athena shows up, and again, I talked about this a little bit before, but it's just so unbelievably stupid to have a character like Athena, a god character, just come into town and just be like, Deliria, you used to be a god, but you're not a god, and there's a big party bash going on, and you could come, but you can't come because you're not invited, so you wouldn't fit in there, really? We're gonna spend 2 minutes having just random gossip between a god and Deliria. It's so unbelievably weird that is the choice that you decide to do when you have such a just endless imaginative character here. You have a god of war, you have Athena, and you just decide to make her a petty bitch. Is that the joke of it? Because I really don't find it to be that interesting, especially when they do it once in the episode, and then they proceed to make that an entire plot point of the episode. Just random banter between the two characters, I was invited to this and you weren't. It's just so stupid. I don't like it. So then Tyrus, he has his big election, and people are debating whether or not they want to vote for somebody else, and then they go to the bar, and the bars are closed because it's election day, and then they want to make Shloob the king, because Shloob is all like, well, nobody would stop me from getting intoxicated.
If Noah had a door. Why in God's name is there anything between me and intoxicants?
So Shloob wins the election, and Shloob is now king. Shloob. He is the king, and Tyrus is upset, and yeah, they don't really do anything interesting with that at all. It's just Shloob is the king. We get this thrilling scene where Tyrus doesn't want to give up the crown, and the entire joke of it is, so there's never really been a peaceful transfer of power around here, and then one character reaches for the crown, and Tyrus is like, no. And then he's like, oh, well, I guess there never will be a peaceful transfer of power. That's the joke. And I don't know, I really struggle to talk about episodes like this or shows like this where everything is boring because I can't even make jokes about it. It's so unbelievably ass. It's just very hard to watch this nonsense. So Tyrus, he eventually does have to give up his crown to Shloob, and everybody is very happy that he's Shloob. And then we get this wonderful scene in which Ty is sitting at a bar, okay? And this is where they started to basically do something interesting. They could have went a brand new way for Ty's character and done something really fun with the episode. They eventually take off the crown of Ty, and Ty sits there and he's like, "Oh, I feel so naked. Nobody likes me. Oh, God, I just want to be king." Just, you know, bitching for a solid 2 minutes, and then a character walks by and thinks Ty looks cool because he's wearing a headband now. So they actually like Ty, and they could have leaned into Ty becoming even more popular than the king just by not being king, which they like give hints of because everybody seems to like Ty. They're like, "You're a former king now? That makes you pretty rad." But Ty doesn't do anything with that. He just immediately wants to go right back to the crown. So my point is, why even bother to do this entire episode if you're just going to go right back to the status quo within the episode? It doesn't really make much sense to me because Ty, he gets this bright idea to get the crown back, to do his kingly mandate, and it's just so stupid because they're all on the lookout for Ty the entire time, and you think they're gonna do something interesting. No, Ty just shows up with a sword, takes the crown back, and runs away, and that's it. Like, there's nothing interesting done. There's nothing fun done with Ty's character, so removing the crown from him, he's still the same guy. We don't even get to enjoy all the characters who literally start dressing like Ty with the headband, liking Ty, they all want to be just like him. We don't get to live in that. We don't get to enjoy that because Ty, his character doesn't change, it just stays the same. He eventually goes outside the city with the crown and he's like, "Man, everybody likes me, nobody likes me, oh," and then he goes back into town and gives the crown back, except they weren't gonna make him a king anyway because he stole the crown, because it doesn't fucking matter. Nothing that matters when you're watching this. It's all dumb, it's all stupid, and it's all a waste of time. I can't even fathom why you would want to watch this episode. There's genuinely nothing going on that's even remotely comedic. There's nothing fun. Did I mention that there was a bunch of different stuff where gods would just appear later in the episode and just be like, "Oh, is Daddy Zeus here? Daddy's not here. Oh," and then they zap away. And that's it. Like, this entire episode was just a complete and utter waste of time. I can't believe I even watched this. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would give it a 1 out of 10 for being completely and utterly boring. I'm going to be throwing in the towel a little bit early. I had one more episode queued up and I watched the first like 5 minutes of it, and honestly, it just wasn't worth my time. It just still follows that pattern of being boring. They don't do anything interesting. They don't do anything fun. They don't take risks. It's just a complete and utter waste of time. And I was doing a little bit of research, and I can't believe that before the first episode of this show even aired, it was already greenlit for 2 more seasons. That's why it has 3 seasons. Regardless of if anybody liked it, they were just like, "Yes, we need more." The senile old man was like, "Krapopolis, it's going to be so good. Oh, we need it. Oh, yes." I just really don't understand how anybody could really like this. And I know that there's going to be fans of it out there, but it's genuinely just characters talking, doing the most normal stuff, pretending like it's interesting because it takes place in Rome, all the way back in a fairy tale land, and there's monsters and whatnot, but they don't do anything interesting. They don't take risks with any of the characters. It just feels like I'm watching a really trash sitcom that would have probably been canceled after around 1 episode. It just genuinely is not worth your time, and it is probably one of the worst shows that I've ever seen, in my personal opinion. So yeah, there you have it. Sorry that this one is a little bit short. Still gonna have daily content coming your way, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem for you, because there will be a video tomorrow and the next day. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.